students, today we're going to go to section 10.6, which is really a continuation of yesterday. We're still going to work with absolute values of products in open sentences. And if you notice, this slide looks a lot like the one we did yesterday. We're going to realize that when I've got the absolute value equation, I solve it once for the positive answer and once for the negative answer. When I have less than, if you remember yesterday, we said our key word was land. We're going to make it look like a conjunction. So we take the negative answer and stick it out in front. And then we saw when we have a absolute value greater than, we're going to make it look like a disjunction. And again, that's the harder one to remember to write. We're going to write it once as is and then flip the sign and make it negative. You remember yesterday our key word was or. Greater than, we've got to make it look like an or. Now, the key to what we're doing today is we're going to have a lot more fluff. If you remember yesterday, I said sometimes they give us some extra things besides the absolute value bracket. And so we've got to isolate the absolute value bracket first. And after we get the bracket alone, then we're going to apply the rules for, whether to make it look like an equation, a conjunction, or a disjunction. So let's go ahead and practice a few. And once again, as always, we're going to solve and graph. So if I look at the first one, it will be absolute value, so that means I need two answers. I need to make this look like a compound inequality. And because we have the greater than sign, we remember yesterday we find out that we're going to make it look like an or. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to write down 5h minus 2 is greater than equal to 8, or 5h minus 2. Remember, we flip the inequality sign and make it negative. And so now we just have two separate inequalities to solve. Once again, isolate the variable by inverse operation. So we're going to add 2 to both sides in the first inequality. So we've got 5h is greater than 10, and then h is greater than equal to 2 when we divide by 5. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. We're going to add 2 once again. And this time we're going to get 5h is less than equal to negative 6. This time we're going to get a fraction, but that's okay. We've got negative 6/5. Now, how would we graph that? Well, you know me, I'm going to put 0 in the middle, positive 2. We're going to have a closed dot because it's greater than or equal to going to the right. And then for the negative 6/5, well, remember, that's going to be like negative 1 1/5. So as long as you get it somewhere between negative 1 and negative 2, I'm going to give you the points, and we're going to go to the left. All right, very nicely done. Let's go ahead and try the second inequality, number 2. As you notice, this is a less than sign. If it's less than, we learned yesterday, we've got to make it look like a conjunction or an and. So we take our answer and make it negative and flip it out in front. We've got x over 2 minus 3 is less than 2. Now, to get x alone, we've got to get rid of the 3 first. We're going to add 3. Remember, when we're working with a conjunction, what we do in the middle, we do on the front and the back as well. So now I've got this, 5. And now to get x alone, we've got to multiply everything by 2. So we've got 2 is less than x is less than 10. And again, this is a conjunction, so that means x is greater than 2 and x is less than 10. And if I go to graph that, here's 0, here's 2. We've got an open dot going this way, and we're back here at 10, and we've got another open dot, and they're going to come in and connect and give us our line segment. All right, now let's see what happens when we do a few different problems with a little more to look at. Now, when we're looking at number 3, did you notice I've got some more things inside my absolute value bracket? The absolute value bracket is like a grouping symbol. So if there's math that we can do on the inside, we need to take care of it. If you notice, we've got a red flag waving right here. We've got a minus sign. So the first thing I need to do is I need to take care of the math inside. So we've got 6. And again, when I take care of that negative sign in front, remember that changes everybody's sign inside the parentheses. And now I can go ahead and combine like terms. So we've got absolute value of 9 minus 2y. Now, because we've got that less than sign, remember, we're going to make it look like a conjunction or an and. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to have negative 9 is less than equal to 9 minus 2y is less than equal to 9. We're going to isolate that 2y, so we've got to subtract 9 from 3 places. Less than equal to negative 2y, less than equal to 0. Well, we still got to get y alone. We're going to divide everything by negative 2. Well, did you hear we're dividing by a negative number? So remember, we've still got 2 flips since we divided by a negative number. There's our final answer. Okay? So that means y is less than or equal to 9, and y is greater than or equal to 0. So I'm going to go over here to 0, and I'm going to put a closed dot, and we're going to the right. And we're going to go down here to 9 and put another closed dot because we've got less than or equal to the left. And where they collide, where they overlap is our answer. Now, if you look at number 4, Mrs. Burton would say we've got a lot of fluff. A lot of fluff to get rid of as we go through. All right, so first thing we need to do then, we need to subtract 11 from both sides. Again, we've got to get rid of all the fluff. We've got to get rid of all that extra stuff there and get our absolute value brackets alone. So when we subtracted 11, now we've got to divide both sides by 2 because we've still got that 2 out in front of our absolute value bracket. Finally, now we've got our absolute value bracket alone. Now, this is an equation, so we learned yesterday that if it's an equation, we're going to solve it once for the positive answer and then again for the negative answer. So we're going to have to add 7 to both sides. So I've got 3k equals 11, and we're going to get a fraction this time. That's okay. Over here, second equation, we're going to still add 7, so we've got 3k equals 3, so here k equals 1. Now remember, when it's an equation and I have 2 distinct answers, we're just going to put big, fat, juicy dots on our number line. So k equals 1, and then let's make this 3 and this 4, and 11 thirds is going to be closer to 4, so we just put our dot there. All right, last slide. Once again, if I've got more than the absolute value bracket there, we have to get rid of the fluff. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 21 from both sides. And so now, negative 4. Now if you notice, we still don't have that absolute value bracket alone yet. We're going to have to divide both sides by negative 4. Finally, we've got our absolute value bracket. Hey, did you realize we divided by negative 4? Don't forget to flip your inequality sign. That's an important move because now that makes this a less than. So we're going to have to make this look like an and. So we're going to take that 2 and make it a negative 2 and flip it out in front. 2 minus 5w is less than 2. And we're going to isolate that w, whatever we do in the middle. We do front and back. So we've got negative 4 is less than negative 5w is less than 0. Oh, we still have to divide everything by negative 5 to get w alone. Oh, we divided by a negative number again. So we've got 4/5. A negative divided by negative is a positive. Flip the sign. W, flip the sign, 0. And once again, we're going to go over here to 0 on our number line, and we're going to put an open dot. We're going to go, we'll make a big gap there. 4/5 is going to be right before 1, and there is the graph. So again, students, just a little bit more extensive problem, still absolute value, still 2 answers. And again, the key to doing this is remembering that first slide and what to do when, whether we have an equation, an inequality, and which one becomes a conjunction, and which one becomes a disjunction.